Hello and welcome to today's class. Today is the test 2 discussion. Let's go to the first question. How far do you agree that the behavior of the Indian monsoon has been changing due to the humanization of the landscape? Discuss. See, let us first understand this question. Here we have the keywords is the Indian monsoon and humanization of the landscape. Now basically Indian monsoon is nothing but the rainfall that India receives during the 3 months period, that is from July to September, and that rainfall amounts to 70% of the total rainfall. So the 70% of the total rainfall that India receives during this 3 months period is basically because of the Indian monsoon, and the Indian monsoon occurs nothing but because of the reversal of the trade wind, that is the southeast trade winds becomes the southwest trade winds. Now, next is that key humanization of the landscapes. Now, this means that the landscape with human made infrastructure. What is this human made infrastructure? It can be anything, it can be your industries, it can be your urban areas, it can be other recreational facilities, etc. Now, what can be a possible diagram with respect to this? See, it talks about the behavior of the Indian monsoon has been changing. So exactly I have drawn a basic diagram that you can include it within your answer to enhance your question. See, this basically the yellow is the region that where the rainfall is declined, and the blue is the rainfall region where the rainfalls have increased. Now this increase or decrease in the rainfall has occurred in the past 60 years. So when I say 60 years, it means a recent trend and not a very old trend. Now let's come to the humanization of the landscape. So what exactly is the humanization of the landscape? Forest lands being utilized for the agriculture, industry and for the urban space. Next comes the urbanization. Now see, though forest lands have become urban areas, but again within this urban areas there is a problem. The urban areas are characterized as heat islands. Now what is this heat island? The heat island is nothing but this particular urban area. What happened is that due to the excessive heating, the macro climate or the particular climate in this region has changed, and as a result of this becomes a heat island. That is, it means that the temperature in this particular part is more compared to the temperature in its surrounding areas. So that is called the heat island. So basically humanization of landscape, we got first is your deforestation, next is your urbanization characterized by heat island, and in urbanization what happens is your green covers gets reduced, which also reduces the moisture contained in that area. Next, within the urbanization, we have also called as concretization. What is concretization? Preventing groundwater recharge and reducing the green cover, thereby reducing the evapotranspiration. What does this means? It means that whenever in an urban area the land is covered in concrete or asphalt or road is made, it basically reduces the rainfall or the rainwater from percolating underground, and the percolation of the absence of this percolation underground leads to the depletion of the groundwater. Now next come to the changing pattern of the Indian monsoon. First of all, first changing pattern remains is that the Indian monsoon is declining right now. Indian monsoon has declined by 6% in the last 60 years. Number one. Number two, the changing intensity of the Indian monsoon. Between 1998 and 2018, the intensity of the monsoon declined over the Chhattisgarh, northeastern states except Sikkim. Now, I have already shown this to you in the diagram. Now, what happened is that the northeast states they receive a bulk of rainfall, and that's the very reason in the northeast states you can find tropical rainforest, you can find tropical deciduous forest, all types of forests you can find in the northeast regions. But in the northeast states, the rainfall has been decreasing, and this trend is marked in all the northeast states except the state of Sikkim. Similarly, Chhattisgarh, one of the regions which is rich dense forest, again rainfall has been declining in this area. Similarly, between 1998 and 2018, the intensity of rainfall have increased over other regions. Look at this. It's Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Haryana, etc. Now, what actually is the problem? Now, the problem, this changing intensity has resulted in the break in monsoon. Break in monsoon means during the Kharif season, what happens is that the monsoon all of a sudden it stops. It's the means the rainfall stops, and as a result the crops are damaged. Next, what we are facing is the cloud burst. Now, what is cloud burst? Cloud burst basically means that in a particular area the rainfall is so heavy that it gets inundated, or that all of a sudden flash flood occurs in that particular area. Now this we are especially witnessing in the urban areas, especially urban floods in Hyderabad, Sikandrabad in 2021. These are nothing but the cases of the cloud burst. Now, now after we have understood the question, let us see what exactly we need to address this question. First, we need to have an intro. In the intro, we can simply write the Indian landscape receives 70% of its monsoon rainfall in the 3 months period. Body, we have to discuss what exactly we have to discuss. We have to discuss the changing pattern of the Indian monsoon. We have to add a diagram, the diagram we have given, and add a flow chart discussing the humanization of landscape. See, in this question, it says that ki humanization of the landscape has led to the change in monsoon. Remember this. So obviously, so this is asking that ki what is our thoughts on that. So our thought is that ki yes, the humanization of landscape has changed the monsoon. So what exactly changes that we are seeing in the Indian monsoon, and what exactly are the humanization of landscape? So basically, in the humanization of landscape, if we start writing this question as the humanization of landscape means industrialization, urbanization, this, that, and all. So there, what will happen is that ki considerable time and marks will be reduced. You will reduce your time to give a proper answer, and you will reduce your marks. So focus on that is that ki how the intensity of monsoon, or the how the monsoon has changed, or how the pattern of the Indian monsoon has changed. So this is how you need to write the question. And in the conclusion, you can build up your own conclusion. I have a simple conclusion for myself. I would say that ki due to this factors that the Indian monsoon, the pattern is changing, and that the humanization of landscape is one of the major reasons for it. Next, move on to the next question. Discuss the concept of air mass and explain its role in the macroclimatic changes. Now let's first understand the question. EUQ. See, first, what is air mass? I have given a simple definition. Air mass is nothing but a three-dimensional mass of air characterized by their volume, temperature, and water content, right? Characterized by the homogeneity. I'm sorry, the definition needs a bit of change. The three-dimensional mass of air characterized by their homogeneity. Homogeneity means that they are equal. Means they are equal in their volume, temperature, and water mass. For example, let's consider this is the mass of air. The mass of air has equal volume in all proportion, equal amount of water vapor content, and equal temperature. Now, so this question has two parts. Discuss the concept of the air mass and explain its role in the macroclimatic change. So when I am discussing the concept of air mass, first I need to know what air mass is, so that I'll be writing this as the definition of the air mass. Then I need to know what are the types of air mass. Now this type of air mass are continental polar, maritime tropical, maritime polar, and continental tropical. Now the air mass are named so from the source from which they have their origination. Understood? Next, continental polar air mass. The continental polar air mass originates in the Arctic Circle. And what is the climate change that it has induced, that we have asked, the macroclimatic changes? It induces polar front in the North America, Europe, and Asia. Understand this question? This is your North America. This is your particularly European nation, right? So this is the portion from where of the Arctic Circle. Basically, I would say this is your Canada. From here, this air masses rise. And what happens this air mass? When this air mass, that is cold continental air mass, when they float towards the continent, what they will do is that they induce a polar front. Polar front means the cold air will meet the warm air. As a result, a front will form, which results in the precipitation, or PPT. That is the precipitation. Next, we have the maritime tropical air mass. Again, the source of origin is the ocean. Again, we need to know how the climate change, that how maritime tropical air mass is responsible for the climate change. Maritime tropical air mass flows with the trade wind. Understand this. causing the ITCC formation, thereby causing 300 centimeter of precipitation all over the equatorial region. Let us understand this. This is your globe, this is your equator. So the maritime tropical air mass are basically derived from the ocean, right? Ocean being the major source. And when they meet at the equatorial region, what they will do? They actually lead to the formation of the ITCZ, and which results in the formation of what? None other than your polar front. Excuse me for a while. Next, we have the maritime polar air mass. The maritime polar air mass, again, it has its origin in the Arctic Circle. Now, the climate change. Maritime polar air mass has its effect on the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. Let us again explain this in the diagram. This is your Atlantic Ocean, this is your Pacific Ocean, and the maritime air mass, what they will actually do is that they actually affect the coastlines on the northern or the Atlantic Ocean as well as the Pacific Ocean coastlines. That is, they provide rain over here, they create fog in this area, and many more. Next, we have the continental tropical air mass. Again, the source is the continent. Again, what is the climate change that induced? See, this continental tropical air mass, they are basically warm in nature, and they are responsible for inducing dry weather at the western part of the continent, thereby creating desert type of climate. Understand this? This is North America, this is South America, Europe, Africa, India, else. Every continent in the western part, they have a desert. We have the Mojave Desert, we have this Atacama Desert over here, Namib Deserts. All these deserts, again, we have the Sahara over here. These are because of the flow of the continental tropical air mass. These are offshore air mass that do not, as a result of which these areas are devoid of any kind of precipitation because they are offshore in nature, and hence what they do, they create the desert type of climate. See, this is for your basic understanding. You need to write the continental polar, maritime tropical, maritime polar air mass, and continental tropical air mass. Introduction, we can discuss the air mass, three-dimensional features, and then types of air mass. And then in the similar format, we can write what is the source of the origin and what changes do they induce over the continents. Right? We'll move on to the next question. Discuss the cause of depletion of the mangroves and explain their importance in maintaining the coastal ecology. First, understanding the question. The question has two parts: cause of depletion of the mangroves and explain the importance of the mangroves in the coastal ecology. So we need to briefly address the two parts of this question. Again, the keyword over here is the mangrove. What is mangrove? Mangrove is nothing but the tidal forest found in the intertidal region of the river and estuaries. It can be used as an introduction, as I have written in it. Now, what are the causes of depletion of the mangroves? First cause is your anthropogenic, and next is your natural cause. What is anthropogenic cause? Number one is overexploitation. Overexploitation leading to deforestation. That people basically who are living near the mangroves, they depend on the mangroves for the food and fuel. And as a result of it, the mangroves have been depleted. Next, pollution. What is the pollution? Industrial effluent discharge. Next is the sea level rise due to the climate change. Recently, what is happening is that the climate is changing, as a result of which the polar the glaciers are melting, or the ablation of the glaciers are leading to the result of the leading to the rise in the water level. Now, one thing we need to understand is that this melting of the or the ablation of the glaciers are due to the increase in the CO2 level in the atmosphere, which have been done due to the human interference. Next, invasion of the non-native species. Last but not least, it's the land reclamation. What is land reclamation? What exactly is happening right now at the Mumbai and even at the Sundarbans? The These tidal areas are being recovered. How? They actually are, what they are doing is that in the coastal areas, they are using the sand to cover up this mangrove areas, and over that they are building the human infrastructure. Hotel, recreational facilities are being built near the Sundarbans so as to attract tourism. But what actually they are doing is that they are actually destroying the landscape over there, and that the total that the mangroves are being depleted. Another provision is that ki reduction of the river water leading to rise in salinity. Remember that this is the coast, rivers are flowing. Now in this particular region you are going to find the mangrove, or these are the estuaries where the fresh water will meet with the saline water. When the fresh water will meet with the saline water, this is the place where the mangroves will grow. So what is happening actually? In every river, what is happening is that the dams are being constructed. Now, when the dams are being constructed, they are actually hindering the flow of the river water. As a result of which, the salinity of the ocean water keeps on increasing, and this increase in the salinity of the ocean water actually is very much harmful to the mangroves. Next important thing is that aquaculture or shrimp farming. Mangroves areas are basically used for the shrimp farming. In Odisha itself, we have Kendrapada where the shrimp farming is exclusive. And this exclusive shrimp farming in this mangrove regions have actually led to the depletion of the mangrove. Another recent thing that we are seeing is that fire outbreak. See, mangroves are basically located in estuaries, and estuaries are basically wetland where where occurrence of fire is very rare because the trees are actually inundated by water. But what actually is happening right now is that this fire outbreaks are being taken place. One of the major reason is that reduction of the river water which is flowing into the mangroves, and another important reason is that the invasion of the non-native species and utilization and over exploitation of these resources. That is the very reason that we are having many incidents of the mangrove fire. Next, come to the natural causes. Natural causes can be natural calamity. What is the natural calamity? See, natural calamity such as your tsunami, floods, cyclonic surges. What are cyclonic surges? Cyclonic surges are nothing but when there is a cyclone, the sea water, what happens is that it tries to come to the coast, but the mangroves protect them. So though the mangroves protect them, but some mangroves are uprooted in that case. So natural calamity is also one of the reason, but this is very rare. Next, again, sea level rising due to the high tide. See, high tide phenomenon occur when the moon, the sun and the earth are in synchronization. Synchronization means, see, if there is the moon over here, if there is the sun over here, and if there is the earth over here, so the gravitational pull of the moon and sun will be higher, so leading to the high tide type situation. So these high tides are also responsible for the reduction of the mangroves. Next is the diseases. Nipah is basically a mangrove tree, also the Sundari tree. Now they suffer from the top dying disease. The top dying disease is nothing but a disease of the mangrove trees. Nutrient depletion, the nutrient depletion due to that is the loss in the phosphorus, loss in the nitrogen, etc. Next, and geomorphological changes. Geomorphological changes such as the inundation of the coastal region. What does inundation means? That the coastal region is totally inundated, means it is totally covered with water. So this can happen due to the rise in the sea level, or due to the rise in the coastal level, or due to the earthquake at the coast. Such reasons, such incidents can lead to the rise or the inundation of the region. Now, importance in the coastal ecologies. Number one, first importance is their protection. The coastal regions, see, the coastal regions from the cyclone, it protects, what does it protect? It protects the coastal region from the cyclonic surges and tsunami, as I had discussed earlier. Conservation of the biodiversity such as the flora and fauna. Let us see, Sundarban, one of the famous flora over here is your RBT, that is your Royal Bengal tiger, is being conserved over here in the Sundarban. Flora, again, Nipah and Sundari trees. Now it regulates the minerals and nutrient. What actually it does is that the Sundarbans, they actually they actually purify the water by absorbing all the mineral nutrients from them, and again they provide the mineral nutrients to the water. Again, it support the human settlement in the coast, purification of the water by trapping the pollutants, and storage of the blue carbon. Now, these are all the importance of the maintaining the coastal ecology. That how important is the mangroves for maintaining the coastal ecology. Now, what diagrams can we add? See, we can simply draw the map of India, showcasing that where we find the mangroves. Mangroves we can find it in the West Bengal Sundarbans, in Odissa, in Andhra Pradesh, and in Tamil Nadu. We also find it in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, and in majority of your Andaman and Nicobar Island. So with this, you can basically this question is very easy. You can easily identify what you need to have in the introduction, what you need to have in the body, and what you need to have in your conclusion part. Right? Let us move on to the next question. Mention the global occurrence of volcanic eruption in 2021 and their impact on the regional environment. Simple. The question again has how many parts? Two parts. Again, 2021 volcanic eruption and volcanic eruption impact. Two parts of the question needs to be addressed. Right? Again, keywords over here: volcanic eruption. What is the volcanic eruption? Is the sudden flow of the lava from the volcanic vent located on the earth's surface. Please read this again. It says that it's the sudden flow of the lava. In over here I've written it's either be acidic or the basic lava from the volcanic vent located on the earth's surface. See, this is a very simple definition, and I would, if this question is coming, I would request you to at least have this as a part of intro, because see, this intro though is simple but is geographical in the sense the examiner will see that no, this person has certain knowledge of the geography and he's not writing randomly anything, right? Next, let us see what events did we, or what kind of what that the particular volcanic events across the world. See, we have the Fargusta's fall in the Iceland, we have the Mount Etna eruption in the Italy, we have the Fornisa in the Reunion, we have the Mount Cinnabug, and we have the Airbus. So with the diagram, if I am representing this, then I will be fetching a very, very beautiful marks, because the examiner will not just see that the aspirant has a sense of geography, but he would also see that his presentation is brilliant. Impact on the regional environment. First impact is on the landscape. What will be the impact on the landscape? Ejected lava covers the nearby landscape, destroying the existing flora. Atmosphere: ejection of the volcanic gases and ash can cause number one, precipitation, rise in the carbon dioxide level, hence increase the global warming cases, decrease the solar radiation, hence cooling the earth's atmosphere. This is called irradiance. What will be its effect on the soil? Change in the soil topography and composition. Human settlement are affected by the volcanic eruption, especially due to the loss of livelihood. It also affects the health of the people. Earthquake. Volcanic eruptions are also related to earthquake. See, this is a plain and a simple question. The thing is that you need to have certain knowledge to answer this question. Sometimes what will happen is that we might not have any idea of the global occurrence of the volcanoes. But see, over here is the Mount Italy, this Mount Etna in Italy. It's an active volcano, not a dormant volcano. Even if you can draw this diagram and just point out Mount Etna and Mount Cinnabung like this, at least you'll fetch some mark rather than not fetching any mark, right? Next, discuss the present natural resource conservation policy of Odisha. Now again, understanding the question. See, when I say conservation means three things: protection, increasing the population, and last but not the least is balance. Once we will discuss all these 3 points one by one. First is the protection. How do we exactly protect the natural resources? First, with the help of legislation: Wildlife Protection Act, Environment Protection Act. All these are central laws which are being implemented by the state institution. Water Resource Department, Forest Resource Department. Last but not least, remember mentioning OPCB. What is OPCB? Odisha Pollution Control Board. Next, we are protecting the natural resource through your awareness generation. Next, increasing the population. Population of what? The population of the flora, fauna, and conserving the natural resources. We have the in situ conservation. What is in situ conservation? Tiger reserve, elephant reserve, protected forest. Next, we have the More Jungle. What is this More Jungle initiative? It was an initiative recently launched under the 5T initiative. It helps for the real-time monitoring of the afforestation program. See, In Odisha has a present afforestation program. Now, in those afforestation program, what the problem is that majority what happens is that the forest tree saplings are not planted, or those places where the tree sapling have been planted are actually uprooted by the local people. Hence, to have a real time monitoring of this situation, the more jungle app was initiated, right? Next is the balance. Please understand this. This is very, very important. Balance means that see, we conservation cannot be at terms of human, right? Nor can be humans be at the terms of conservation. So we need a balance. For that, we have the Forest Right Act. Under this Forest Right Act, what happened was that the tribal people were given right over the forest land. Remember that. Tribal people were given the right over the forest land. Supposing this is a 4.5 hectare of forest, a particular tribal was given the right over this forest. What he is to do over this forest? He can use the food, he can use the fuel, he can use the fodder, and in turn he will help in conservation of the particular forest, as the forest is under him. Now, important thing over here is that when the tribal, he cannot sell out this forest land. He cannot sell out this forest land to anyone for the development of infrastructure. So in that way, the tribal is being benefited through this forest land, and the forest land is benefiting the tribal, and this is the balance how we are making. Next is that we are identifying this sacred grove. What happens when we are identifying the sacred grove? Sacred groves are those which are very much sacred to the tribal people. Sacred means holy to the tribal people. They believe that the god, goddesses exist over there, or that the particular groves that have helped them in building up their livelihood. So these are the sacred groves identification. Odisha has successfully initiated the sacred grove identification. Now, what are the benefits that we are actually getting from this balance? See, one of the major benefits that we are getting is that tourism. People are traveling to the sacred groves for tourism, for knowing the tribal culture, having the knowledge of the tribal people. Similarly, this Forest Act, Right Acts, it's not just helping in the conservation of the forest, but it's also helping the tribal people, and it's also helping the Odisha economy when it's generating tourism potential. Next, elaborate in details the major physiographic division of India. See, this is again understanding the question. Again, we have the 6 physiographic division. The north and northeast mountain, this is the northern and the northeast mountain, the northern plain, peninsular plateau, Indian desert, coastal plain. Last but not the least is your island. The north and the northeast mountains. See, the north and the northeast mountains, first we need to remember is that they were formed due to the collision of the Indo-Australian plate and with the Eurasian plate. Number 1. Number 2, we have your northern plains. The northern plains formed because of the river flowing from the northern mountains, and these are characterized by the fertile alluvial soil. Next, we have your peninsular plateau, formed by the basaltic land flow characterized by the fertile black soil and ferrous mineral rich mines. Understood? Next, we have your Indian desert located in the western margin of the continent. Now, when I say that the Indian desert is located in the western margin of the continent, I probably can say that those who have already understood the explanation of the air mass can easily figure out why in the western margin of the continent we have the Indian desert. Coastal plains, simple. Eastern and the western coastal plain approximately 7517 km long, formed due to the subduction on both the sides of the Indian plate. Next, we have the island, includes the Andaman and the Nicobar Island and the Lakshadweep group. Now, the Andaman and Nicobar Island are basically nothing but the inundation of the mountain peaks. The mountain peaks were basically inundated, leading to the formation of your Andaman Nicobar Island. And the Lakshadweep group is nothing but your coral islands. See, 10 marker question, you need to describe everything without losing marks, but with the proper flow. Now, this will get the proper flow. If you want to add extra information, so far so good, you can add it, but you need to be very specific. But at no point, remember that you have to add a diagram with it. You cannot miss a diagram in this case. Next, we have the major geographical formation and associated minerals of Odisha. See, understanding the question first of all is that ki major geological formation and the associated minerals. See, I have divided Odisha into three cretons. This is your northern creton, this is your western creton, this is your eastern creton, right? These are the three cretons or the three parts of Odisha. Now, in this case, we have the northern Creton. Northern Creton basically is in the Chota Nagpur Plateau region, and this region is abundant with the following minerals: iron, manganese. I have listed out all the mines of the particular northern Creton area. We have the western Creton. Now, the western Creton is nothing but the extension of the Deccan Trap into the West Creton, and it has led to the significant deposit of the bauxite ore. Remember that bauxite is one of the major ores of the aluminium. It's your bauxite ore. Next, we have the East Creton. The East Creton, being the part of the Gondwana basin, has significant coal deposit. Example in the Talcher basin. So these are all the important regions, that is the physiographic division or the geological formations with their associated mineral resources. Next, discuss the density distribution population of India. See, this question can be a long question, but since it's given a 10 marker question, you need to be very careful how to write it. So density distribution, I have divided it into two groups. One is where is the density and why is there a density. Now, if you are writing why there is why there is such and such density, this will be very much helpful for you to fetch the mark. So first of all, what is the population density? It's nothing but the number of person per square kilometer. In India, the average is 382 square kilometer. Now remember this, I'm using the 2011 census because the 2021 census is yet to be out. Next, density, we have the low density, we have the moderate, and next but not least, high. Low density, areas with 100 to 250 persons per square kilometer. Example given: Jammu Kashmir, Himachal, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, MP, Chhattisgarh, northeastern states except the state of Tripura and Assam. Be very careful. Though I am writing northeast state, but I am saying that Tripura and Assam are not low density states, they are very high density states. This is your Tripura and this region is your Assam. What is the reason? Mountainous topography with the harsh climate in the northeast states, forest cover in the Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and desert type of climate in Rajasthan. Next, we have your moderate density. Now, the moderate density areas with 250 to 500% per square kilometer. Example is Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Gujarat, etc. Now, why they are having the moderate density? Because of the comparatively developed states with industrial and agricultural base. Next is your high density. The high density, again, the area is classified with the population between 500 to 1000% per square kilometer. Example Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana, and NCR. Now, these regions are not just high, they have highly developed services area, but they have the industrial base as well. Service and industrial base means that these are the regions where people actually come to seek jobs, and that's the very reason that that the population is not just their own but belongs to outside of the state. So with this, we can easily describe the density of the population. We are not just describing where the density is, but why there is such a density. With this, we can properly fetch a proper nothing but a proper 5-6 marks. If you are writing two things, first of all, where and why. I hope that this is the explanation is relevant. I'll be also sharing the notes in the group, and then thank you and have a good day.